So when I, male 35, was 22, I got married to Kristen. We had our son Skylar, male 11, about a year into our marriage. Things were going pretty well, I felt like. I was working, Kristen was staying home with Skylar. Things were tight, but I was able to buy us a home and provide a decent life. I was just getting started on IT, so the money was coming. Just had to be patient. Well, I come home one day and half of the stuff is gone. So is Skylar and Kristen. Note on the counter. Kristen said she was unhappy with our lifestyle, that she wanted something that wasn't mediocre and wanted to live a good life. She had been seeing someone else and was moving in with him, and I needed to get a lawyer. We go through a nasty divorce and get split custody. So I remarried a few years later to my current wife, Elena. She's amazing and the most supportive person ever. We have one daughter together. I started my own IT consulting business about 5 years ago, and it's taken off, giving me, my wife, Skylar, and Gwen a nice life. My ex has had a string of boyfriends and hasn't remarried. We don't talk at all besides details about Skylar. So I got a call a week ago from Kristen. She was asking for a place to stay for a little bit. Her boyfriend was kicking her out and she didn't have anywhere else to go. She wasn't able to afford a safe place for her and Skylar. She asked if she could live in our guest house until she found a place to live. I basically told her no, that she didn't deserve my charity after walking out on me a decade ago, that she as a mother needs to clean her crap up and provide for him, and that if she wasn't gonna be able to afford a safe place to live, then I wanted to revisit the custody agreement. Because I don't want Skylar to move into some sketchy apartment or with some sketchy guy. But I told her I'd ask my wife and get back to her. My wife hates Kristen, but said she doesn't want Skylar resenting us if something happens to his mom. But she really doesn't want my ex living here either, and would prefer to revisit the custody agreement in order to give Skylar some more stability. So we thought this is our chance to push for solo custody. My mom wants me to consider the message this sends to our son. My dad told me to remember the note on my counter 10 years ago and do think about what is best for my son in the long run. Am I the a-hole? Now the top comments. You're the a-hole. Going for sole custody or having your ex-wife move in are not your only options and you know it. Not the a-hole for not wanting her to move in, but that doesn't mean that you are not being an a-hole. We go through a nasty divorce and get split custody. It was decided that it was in Skylar's best interest to have both parents in his life, and until he is old enough to express a preference, that is what should happen where possible. Having Skylar live with you full-time while his mother sorts herself out is a very different thing than going for sole custody for the rest of his childhood. You could tell your ex that you won't be going for sole custody, but she needs to sign paperwork that Skylar will stay with you so that his situation is stable while she sorts herself out. You can both preferably jointly explain to Skylar that mommy is having a difficult time at the moment, so he will live with you full-time until things are better for mommy, and then you will go back to the previous arrangement. If he asks why mommy can't come and live with you, which at 11 he probably won't, you explain that mommy and daddy respect each other but don't get along well, so that is only going to make everyone miserable. The message that sends to your son is that people are responsible for their own actions and the consequences of them, but we don't take advantage of other people's misfortune. There's a middle ground between moving your ex onto your property and trying to take full custody, which the mom and son don't want. You admit there are no safety issues in terms of her parenting, so you are the a-hole. Tell her you'll give her 6 months to sort out her life, get a stable job and home. Informally, you will keep your son full-time. No new court orders and no CS for her. And she can visit 2-3 times a week to see her son and keep in touch. If she doesn't have a sustainable home after 6 months, then you'll file. Your edit says you don't want a temporary agreement and only want a final one. All custody orders are temporary and can be modified in the best interest of the children. There is no such thing as a final conclusion. I'm not going to be shy about this. My sister sucks. She is a horrible, self-centered person who thinks she is the main character. She is not only a horrible person, she is a step monster. She married this guy, who is a freaking pushover, 3 years ago. He has 2 children, 10 and 6. My sister constantly complains about them, saying things like the 6-year-old is gross because he sips too loud or has stained clothing. For the love of God, he is 6. That's what a child is supposed to do. And she is so mean to the 10-year-old girl. She acts straight out jealous of her. I've caught her taunting her that daddy loves my sister more than her. She is horrible. I have straight up called her out after trying to talk to her like a million times. At Christmas, she was saying that it'd be nice to have the kids there, and I said, "Why? You hate them." This was when everything was almost over, and she had been bragging to her friends that her husband had spent more on her than on daughter. A fight ensued. My parents reprimanded me, but my cousins took my side and called her out, noting every moment that they had witnessed her being horrible. Her husband obviously took her side and said that she was a wonderful stepmother and that the kids love her. To which I said that that was a lie, as I had consoled them countless times after they were taunted by my sister. They left and we haven't talked since. One day, I was running errands and run into my stepnephews who were with their mother. I had never met her, and honestly, she is wonderful. We decided to have some coffee. While the kids were playing, she asked me how her children behaved, etc. I said they were wonderful, and then I just spilled the beans on my sister. How awful she was, what I've heard her say to the kids, the inaction of her ex-husband. By the end, she was horrified. She said the kids didn't like her, but she always chucked it up to my sister being the new woman in their father's life. She said the kids never really said anything even when she asked. I then told her I was very concerned for the children, as my sister had straight up told the 10-year-old that it would be better if she disappeared from her father's life. Their mother saw red and asked me if I'd be willing to testify. She said that this was unacceptable and she would be taking their father to court again. I said I would recount the events that I witnessed and could ask my cousins who witnessed a lot too. She was very grateful. I asked my cousins who were all willing to recount the events. Word got around to my parents and by extension my sister. And they have been calling me the biggest a-hole on the planet who would betray family on a whim. Am I the a-hole? Now the top comments. You're not the a-hole. I don't like when people throw around the word narcissist around here. But your sister sounds like a narcissist. To be able to criticize children and be jealous of their relationship with their father, to tell them he loves her more than them? My mother is a narcissist. One of my earliest memories is her telling my sister and me, after our father had tucked us in and told us he loved us more than anything, that he didn't mean more than her, that he would always love her more. I'll never forget that confusing moment in my young life. The woman did damage to all of her children that she'll never take responsibility for and that we'll be healing from for the rest of our lives. You offered these kids' mother assistance to stop that from happening to her babies any longer. You did a hard thing. You will probably catch crap from your family, but I think you did the right thing. Not the a-hole. The fact is their father is allowing your sister to abuse his children. That makes him complicit in the abuse. If he can protect them, he doesn't deserve to have custody. Your actions are getting those children out of a toxic, emotionally scarring situation and into the care of someone who obviously loves them very much. You and your cousins are doing the right thing by testifying on behalf of those children's mother. You are a very decent person. You are making a difference in the lives of two children who are helpless to help themselves. Your sister had a choice and made it. This is what she wants. She said it a million times. Not the a-hole, and I hope you follow through with it. You will be a hero and can hold your head high. It will damage your relationship with someone who doesn't great, but hopefully the reward outweighs it. My female 16 cousin, female 23, is getting married in November. She's the only daughter of my dad's brother. From some context, we don't get along at all. She bullied me while growing up, and after my uncle passed away, she tried to steal my dad. He never allowed it and made time for both of us, but to this day, my cousin still says that I was a B-word for not letting her have a paternal figure, which is not true. Neither my mom or dad allowed her to mistreat me and abuse me, but there's so much a parent can do. She used to do it while they weren't watching too, and I was too afraid to tell them because I could see how important it was for my dad to have a relationship with her, so I kept quiet. While the bullying decreased, it never went away. She still makes fun of me, because I'm single, because I'm dumb, etc., etc. When she got engaged, she excluded me from the bridal party, and it wouldn't matter if it wasn't for the fact that she included the rest of the family, her mom's side and my brothers. My dad found this suspicious, and things got a lot worse with her funny comments. that I'll probably attend alone, that she didn't think the bridesmaid dress would be flattering to me because of my size, etc. She took my parents to dinner last week and asked my dad to walk her down the aisle, and I don't know what excuse he gave her, but after that, he came to my room and asked me if I would be okay with this. I was honest. I said no. I told him that she made most of my life hell, even before Uncle passed away. And since I was his only daughter, I thought it would be an experience between us, that I knew she would ask, and I only wanted to make my feelings clear, but that at the end of the day, the decision was his, and I'll accept whatever he decides because I know how important she is for him. He told me that he loved her as a daughter too, and that was it. Well, my dad told her no, and now my cousin is blaming me, telling everyone that I forced him, that I was a jealous little bee, and that if I don't fix it, then I wouldn't be welcome at her wedding. My mom and my aunt sided with her that it was a low blow from my part, and most of her family is saying that it wasn't fair. My mom called me yesterday and told me that I should have lied because this was an important moment for her. My brothers told her that if she didn't stop the harassment, then they'll drop from the party too. And I can't help but think that I caused a big mess. Now the top comments. Not the a-hole between you and your cousin. Clearly not the a-hole between you and your dad. He had the presence of mind to ask and follow your lead. Whilst it's not mentioned, I hope he also had your back during this trail of abuse. If he didn't, then he is an a-hole. Anyone that has given you crap for it, clearly an a-hole, or ignorant, or both. She's been consistently awful to you over many years. It's absolutely reasonable to have an issue with your own father walking your bully down the aisle. Good that he said no. You didn't make this drama. Your cousin has set this up over years of what is essentially a campaign of open bullying. Even from what you wrote, the bullying hasn't gotten any better, it's just changed with age. Oh, you shouldn't be my bridesmaid because the dress won't flatter you. It's just the adult version of the same crap you put up with as a child. Not the a-hole, your cousin poisoned the ground under her own wedding with her ongoing hateful behavior toward you. The fact that she was being an abusive, demeaning bully to you with the wedding planning disqualified her. It's ridiculous for her to ask your dad to walk her down the aisle like a daughter in the wedding while she's bullying his actual daughter to anyone who would listen. The below was a very mature thing for you to say. At the end of the day, the decision was his, and I'll accept whatever he decides because I know how important she is for him. You only told him how you felt, which was 1, honest, and 2, important to share. You are most definitely not at fault here. I am kind of wondering how your father doesn't see the abuse, but the difference between you and your cousin is night and day. I, female 25, live with my roommate Jeff, male 25, in a 2-bedroom apartment. We share a kitchen and living room. Jeff is autistic and has told me that he doesn't like his stuff touched or moved from its original spot, which is fine. I don't ever touch his stuff or move it anyways. The problem starts in the kitchen. I cook a lot and therefore use my share of the fridge space. Jeff, on the other hand, eats out more often, but still likes to keep his side of the fridge stocked, which wouldn't be a problem, except he buys easily perishable foods, grapes, salad mix, eggs, etc. He will leave his food in there until it's literally liquefied. The first time I found his food like that, I tossed it immediately, after which he freaked out and reminded me, again, to never touch his stuff. Since then, I've had to practically beg him to throw out his food. Whenever I text him about his moldy food, he'll just repeat, "Don't touch/move my stuff," even if I send a picture of fruit literally caked in mold. I left for a trip 2 months ago and got back yesterday. I guess early on in my trip, Jeff bought some raw chicken and left it in the fridge. I opened the fridge yesterday morning to make breakfast, and it was rancid. All the food on the lower shelves were drenched in liquefied chicken. There were mold spots growing on the plastic, and it smelled like death. I lost it. I took every single biohazard out of that fridge and immediately tossed it in the dumpster. I used every chemical I had to completely sterilize the fridge. The whole process took hours. As I was cleaning, Jeff came home and immediately started yelling about me touching his food. I yelled back and told him he's an idiot for leaving all that food to go rotten. He told me he's autistic and needs things in certain places, and I told him I need a fridge that doesn't have a Pandora's box full of diseases. He stormed off into his room and we haven't spoken since. So, Reddit. Am I the a-hole for throwing out my roommate's food? Now the top comments. Not the a-hole. Let me help you solve this problem, unless you want to move out / have him move out. Seems like he does truly need ritual, routines, and sameness to get by. He also needs control and seems to have a lot of issues with executive function. You, on the other hand, need a clean fridge. He does too, for physical health, but his mental health needs are outweighing his physical needs right now. You both need to talk about how to fix this issue while it's not currently happening, meaning right now when he doesn't have any food in the fridge. Could you discuss having a day of the week when he cleans out the fridge? Like every Sunday morning, it's part of his routine to go through the fridge and throw out old things. Maybe you could also have a whiteboard on the fridge where he can write down what he's throwing out, so he knows what he needs to replace. If you discuss it with him when you're not already needing to throw things out, he might also have a solution. Ask him what he finds hard about throwing out food. Ask him what he struggles with. For your end, you can promise never to touch his things if he can stick to the new routine that keeps you healthy. It's not your job to work through problems with him, but your roommate's situation will be a heck of a lot easier for both of you if you do.